Hello, my name is Nicholas Quatraro, and my presentation will be about the rise of right-wing populism in modern Europe from the 2019 Presbyterian College Summer Fellows Program. I would like to thank Dr. Justin Lance, the Political Science Department, and Presbyterian College for the tremendous support over the last 4 years. On PC. The research project studied the comparative success that two right-wing populist parties, Lega Nord in Italy and the United Kingdom Independence Party in the UK, have had in recent election cycles. The electoral success of a political party is dependent on variables that have to do with population and platform. Comparing Lega Nord and UKIP, the study finds several differences in how citizens of Italy and the UK react to policy platforms. Two major variables in right-wing populist parties are the anti-immigration platform that the party has, combined with the anti-immigration attitude that a population may have. A third variable is how charismatic the leader of said party is. So the research question for this presentation, what factors have led to an increase in popularity of some right-wing populist parties but not others? So data and methods. The primary data was used from a survey conducted by the Eurobarometer in November of 2018. This survey consisted of a range of questions including use of media, trust in government, and feeling toward migration, amongst others. The two specific questions focused on were, please tell me whether each of the following statements evokes a positive or negative feeling for you, immigration of people from other EU member states, or immigration of people from outside the EU, and could you tell me to what extent you use social networks? The survey was conducted in 34 countries. Using chi-square testing, the research tested the significance and feelings toward migration in both citizens of Italy and the UK. This research focused on both the top 10 and top 5 countries by population for the purpose of comparative survey results. Social media statistics were used to measure presence, influence, and charisma. There is evidence from multiple studies and different literature that shows the connection between social media use and the support of right-wing populist parties amongst citizens. Research theorizes there are three necessary conditions for successful parties: negative attitude toward migration of the citizens, anti-immigration policy of the party, and social media presence of the party and or the leaders. Approval ratings of Matteo Salvini and Gerard Batten were compared. Approval ratings of Nigel Farage, the former leader of UKIP, were also taken into consideration as a baseline for electoral success. Lega Nord possesses all three characteristics: anti-immigration policy, a population with anti-immigrant attitude, and a charismatic leader. UKIP does not possess two of the necessary conditions, which impacts electoral success. So as you'll see on the flowchart, Lega Nord does have anti-immigration policy, anti-immigration attitudes, and a charismatic leader, where UKIP only has an anti-immigration policy, and the attitudes of its citizens have a fairly positive view and a not so charismatic leader based on social media statistics. You'll see the electoral success over the last few election cycles in Italy. In 2009, the Green is represented by Lega Nord. In 2014, the Green is represented by Lega Nord. And in 2019, the Green is represented by Lega Nord. Obviously, there was a huge expansion, and this can be accredited to the charisma and the platform that Lega Nord runs on. The research used chi-square tests to show the percentage of feeling toward migration from both in and outside of the EU. The survey data from Eurobarometer was used for the chi-square test, asking citizens of the EU nations their opinions about migration. The results of the chi-square test show the correlation between the negative feelings toward migration and the electoral success of the party. Italian citizens tend to share a much more negative view of migration than do citizens of the UK. A tenet of right-wing populism and a variable of the success of a party is impacted by the immigration attitudes toward non-EU and EU migrants. As you'll see in these two charts, immigration attitudes towards non-EU immigrants and towards EU migrants. Italy is in the light green, has much higher rates of negative attitudes than positive. UK in the yellow has much higher rates of positive attitudes than negative. Toward EU migrants, Italy has a higher negative attitudes than the UK. This is a major contributing factor in the electoral success of Lega Nord and the electoral downturn of UKIP. The results from the Eurobarometer survey show the causal connection, between the feelings toward migration and electoral success of the right-wing populist parties. So as you can see in these charts, in Italy, 55.4% of citizens, based off of the survey, have a positive view of migration from within the EU. 44.5% have a negative view of migration from within the EU. As for migration from outside the EU, 34.5% have a positive view, and 65.5% have a negative view. In the UK, 68.4% have a positive view of migration from within the EU, and 31.6% have a negative view of migration from within the EU. 62% have a positive view of migration from outside the EU, and 38.1% have a negative view of migration from outside the EU. So you can see that there is that big difference between the positive and the negative feelings of migration. So, as continuing with the results, social media can have an extremely effective impact on the spread of ideology. Matteo Salvini, the leader of Lega Nord, uses social media to spread the message of Lega Nord to southern Italy and across the country to towns and regions that the party has never been able to reach prior. Gerard Batten and UKIP prefer the traditional campaigning due to their older working class base, and Salvini fosters conversation between him and his supporters, allowing access to himself as the leader, which gives that charismatic impressions to voters. Batten and UKIP do not use social media in that same manner. So, in this chart that you'll see here, Facebook likes and Twitter followers, as well as YouTube subscribers and videos posted, are on the left chart, and YouTube videos posted are on the right. Matteo Salvini far outdoes the competition and other political parties, specifically UKIP and the two leaders, Gerard Batten and Nigel Farage. More content from Lega Nord and Salvini keeps the voters engaged to platform messages relative to UKIP and Batten. You'll see that between Salvini and Lega Nord, there's over 11,000 different YouTube videos posted, and Matteo Salvini far outdoes everyone else in the YouTube subscribers, the Twitter followers, and the Facebook likes. Like I mentioned, keeping the citizens engaged in the platform is important to spreading the message, and social media is a surefire way to do it. And these statistics are accurate as of June 23rd, 2019. As for these charts, you can see the stats, the statistics for the citizens. More time on social media tends to lead to more exposure to certain parties and messages. For example, Lega Nord, who is very active, exposes their party and their leader to more usage. And as far as the usage goes, 63% of Italian citizens claim to use online social networks at least once a week or more. So that's a big chunk of the population. Whereas 59% of UK citizens claim to use online social networks at least once a week or more. So the message of Matteo Salvini and Lega Nord is being further spread to the citizens. As far as the conclusion and the impact, this research has found certain necessary conditions for a successful right-wing populist party. The policy platform of anti-immigration population with anti-immigration sentiment and a charismatic leader. Some parties may not have the same electoral success without these conditions. Further research can use the same conditions to understand electoral success of other types of political parties. Literature on right-wing populism has been done to lead the research to this conclusion, and the Eurobarometer survey and social media statistics help to establish the causal connection between the variables and the electoral success of the parties. Thank you for joining me in the online rendition of this presentation. I hope you have a wonderful day.